And I now call this meeting to order. To introduce the members of the committee currently present this afternoon, we have to my far left is the Vice Chair for Fiscal Affairs and Floor Leader, Senator Karina Magofnia. To her right is Senator Paul Manglonia. I am Donald Manglonia, Chair for Fiscal Affairs. And then to my immediate right is Senator Selena Babauta, and to her right is Senator Carl King Neighbors. With 5 members present, we have the quorum to proceed with today's public hearing. And so with that, members, can I get a motion for adoption of today's agenda?
Motion for the adoption of today's agenda.
A motion was made and seconded. Any objections? All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. The agenda is hereby adopted. Introducing the LB staff assisting the committee, we have our Sergeant at Arms, Ben Terlahi, our IT, Delbert Camacho, our LA, Jolyn Tagobo, and our legal counsel, Joe Bermudez. All right. Before we proceed, I just want to talk about the format of this public hearing. We've invited 5 entities to testify before the committee. We've received written comments from the mayor of Saipan, who is one of the invited individual. We've also received written comments from the Saipan Municipal Council. We have not heard back from the Secretary of Finance, but we do have her division directors present with us this afternoon. And so we will begin with Department of Finance, followed by Department of Commerce, and then if Saipan Chamber of Commerce makes it here before we open up to the general public, or we do have someone from Saipan Chamber of Commerce. Once these 3 entities provide their statement, then we'll open the floor to the general public for comments. We have 5 bills on today's agenda. We're starting off with the House Bill 2307, which is a proposed substitute to House Bill 2307. It's to amend 4 CMC Section 1401D to increase revenues by properly taxing tobacco products. And the substitute will be entitled to update the definition of tobacco products in the CNMI's excise tax laws, bring tobacco rates to the recommended level, set tobacco rates to increase with inflation, and invest tax revenues, in health promotion and disease prevention and control programs in the CNMI, and for other purposes. The second bill that is up for discussion is House Bill 2341 HD1 to establish an excise tax for betel nut or areca nut and lime mix or afuk or bush. The third bill is House Bill 2368, House Substitute 1, and that is to impose a 10% ad valorem tax on private individuals purchasing vehicles from dealerships or private parties outside the CNMI, excluding businesses or commercial entities, and for other purposes. The fourth bill is House Bill 2378, House Substitute 1, and that is to increase the tax imposed on soft drink and alcoholic beverage containers. The fifth bill is House Bill 2374 HD1 to impose an additional 3% tax on the yearly gross revenue of construction activities in excess of $250,000. And with that, at this time, because we have several individuals from Department of Finance, I'd like to invite any one of them to join us in the chamber to provide their comments. You may begin.
Uh, Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. I just received a call yesterday from the Secretary of Finance to appear this today for. So I did not personally. I did not prepare any comments, written comments. Uh, but I look at the attachment, and the Secretary did a submit a comment, and with the data or the statistics that we provided to her. Um, I don't know about my colleague on my right or my division colleague on my right. I'm a tax collector. I have to admit that, and a lot of this House bills from 1 to 4, it's about excise tax, increasing excise tax. Uh, I'm a little, I'll be biased, and if I whether I support the bill or not. I'm going to reserve my own opinion, stating whether I support or not. Uh, Again, there must be a reason why this bill came up, but I'm not. I'm not going to add or say anything else about this. But if it is enacted into law, we are ready to enforce the law. That is, whatever the bill is or the law is stating, because excise tax is our responsibility at the ports of entry. And so if it is enacted, then we will, of course, enforce it. On another note, all these 4 bills, I'm reading it, except for the bill on not tax. There is a I'm asking if it can include a percentage for customs administrative costs or customs and biosecurity administrative costs. We will be looking at this, and me and my major agents here we're looking over this morning, and there's going to be a couple of it's going to be costly for us, because of course it's going to take personnel to do tax assessments, inspectors to do inventory, and other office supplies that we need, toners and all those stuff, personnel again to send out to the field to do an inventory and all those, especially the tobacco. And so I'm just asking if it can, administrative costs, a percentage, maybe at least 1%, be uh, added to the bill for customs administrative costs, and this would be shared to all three islands on the customs uh, offices on Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda. So I'm gonna now pass it to Major Regis. You have anything to? Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Sorry, sir. Before you begin, Director, can you just state your name for the record?
Okay, my name is Jose Simofnes. I'm the director for Customs and Biosecurity.
Thank you, Director.
Daniel Alvarez, the Director for Revenue and Taxation. Just following through with what Director Moffness was saying about the cost for implementing this, if passed, and I'm referring to House Bill 23-74. So, for example, we just went live with our new tax system, and we developed the 3105 BGR, and there was a cost for that. And to implement this for the tax administration, we would have to develop a whole nother tax form and also have our programmers develop it in the tax system. So there is going to be a cost for that. Now, my comments, I guess I have some requests for clarification on line 17 and 16, or 17 and 18 of House Bill 23-74, where it talks about change orders occurring after the effective date of this act. Does that include, or is that only for the change order cost or for the entire contract? Right. So that's a question on how I would interpret that. And then my other question was for line 4. Was it ever where it says a yearly tax of 3% shall be imposed? Was it ever considered to be monthly, following section 4 CMC section 1307? And those are just the questions I had on this House bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Alvarez. Any other comments by Finance? If none, so the committee may be scheduling a meeting sometime next week to mark up these bills. And so if you have any additional comments or questions in regards to specific line items or would like clarification on, we can include that as part of our discussion next week. In addition to your recommendation, Director Muffness, in regards to costs allocated for customs and biosecurity. And so if there's nothing else you would like to include, we may call upon both of you again next week to provide further discussions with the committee at that time. All right.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. May I call upon the Acting Secretary of Commerce, Mr. Frank Cabrera.
Hi, good afternoon, Chairman Donna Maglonia, Chair, Committee on Fiscal Affairs, members of this august body, and all the senators. My name is Francisco Cabrera. I'm the Acting Secretary of Commerce, and definitely my term expires at 4:30 today. So I'll make my due time in short version. Thank you and hafade antiro everyone. Thank you for giving the Department of Commerce the opportunity to provide testimony or comments regarding the reference bills, House Bill 2307, 2341 HD1, 2368 HS1, 2378 HS1, and 2374 HS1. I just consolidated my version on this matter. Thank you that you were able to send me the email on Monday, Chairman. Unfortunately, due to family matters, I was not able to partake on any work business. So I had the benefit to have it taken care of on Tuesday, and it took me time to review the bills because 4 of these bills are pretty much new to me, other than the 2374 that we did submitted a comment to the House sometimes mid-part last year. At any rate, pursuant to 2307, what we see at Commerce is that the bill does represent fairness and responsibility with taxation of tobacco products, provides regulatory compliances, and for the health and well-being of our community that was finally worded in the bill as unhealthy behavior. We accept that as our comment, please. In lieu with 23 HD1, of course, bitter nut chewing is an individual choice. And chewers should also be mindful of the possibility of a long-term effect with the current identified high number of oral cancers and other possible illnesses associated, which is costly to our healthcare system. That is pretty much my overall comment on that particular bill. The other bill, 2368 HS1, with this particular bill, it should be looked into whether it is necessary for such increases at this time or consider for gradual increases over the next few years. That's the end of the comment entirely on that bill. On 2378 HS1, Yeah, of course, we do support this particular bill, but then again, it's an individual choice, and everyone in our community should be health conscious. This will deal with the drinks and the alcohol beverages. Pursuant to 2374 HD1, overall, I believe our comment was well taken back at the House, and we fully support the intent of the bill, that this will be additional revenue, and it's admirable by the author of the bill and as it's passed by the House. Definitely, that's my presentation.
Thank you very much, Acting Secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have a representative from Saipan Chamber of Commerce.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of this body. Thank you for having us today. My name is Dr. Joshua Wise. I'm the Vice President for the Saipan Chamber of Commerce. So I'm here just to comment on 4 of the bills today. So I'm just going to start with the first one, HB 2307. For the Chamber does support this bill, and we, applaud its efforts in redefining with tobacco products and excise tax, and we also applaud the fact that it's being reinvested into healthcare, CHC, tobacco cessation, and things of those natures. And so that one we do have full support on. Moving to HB 2368. With this one, so our members felt that it would take away from the sort of freedom of choice, of being able to choose kind of the vehicles you want. There may be a vehicle that we want that may not be available from a local dealership. And then if we go off island to try to get that vehicle, then you're imposed additional taxes. I mean, obviously, we want to support the businesses and dealerships that are here. But we just feel that by choosing something that may not be available, as options are limited here, you're kind of subject to this additional tax. So, with that, we're just trying to eliminate barriers to vehicle selection and just ensure that individuals aren't penalized or taxed for seeking vehicles that meet their needs outside of local offerings. For the next bill, HB 2378. For this one, with the soft drink alcoholic beverage containers, the chamber does oppose this bill, and for a number of reasons. A 200% increase is a substantial increase. A lot of our businesses and our members don't feel that it's a feasible action for them to take. They were looking at what it would take to get a manufacturer of soft drinks to put CNMI specific labeling on the cans, whereas Hawaii has like the high five on there, and the cost just to get them to be able to put those on specifically for us and distributed that way, they said would have a lot more costs other than this tax in itself. So that's one reason. The other is with the increase of tax to our distributors, that's going to be passed on to the consumers. Obviously, we're going to run into a number of issues, one of which a lot of people are going to, say, for instance, go to the Troop store and then purchase drinks from there, which are, they're not paying tax, which will only just decrease revenues. it'll lead to smuggling or black market transactions, which would go untaxed. Also, we're worried about people bringing in sort of imposter brands that look like the originals that may not be as safe or regulated products, and doesn't have the same health and safety standards. So that would be a concern of ours. And also, I'm not sure if this had been updated, but we didn't notice if there was any provision to allocate funds to health programs for that bill. So that was another thing that we would want to be addressed if we were moving forward with this bill. And lastly, for 2374, for this bill, we don't necessarily oppose the intent of the bill. We just feel that this would be the wrong time for the bill. We're in a place where our tourism and what our product that we're selling to other places it needs a lot of work. I'm sure you guys all know that. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, from Garapan to buildings. And, we feel that imposing this tax would only further create, other contractors from wanting to bid here if there's going to be additional taxes. And we just feel that we need as many contractors as we can get. They're hard enough to get here. So we're just, worried that that's going to deter potential contractors. And that was sort of the key point of why at this time we respectfully oppose that bill, but would certainly be something to consider in the future once we've got things rolling. And that's pretty much all the comments I have.
Thank you, Dr. Wise. And please extend our appreciation to the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We also invited, but is not on the list, CCC, and they did provide their written comments, and that will be part of the committee report once we address these bills in committee meeting. So at this time, any of the invited testimonies from these agencies, you're more than welcome to listen to the rest of the comments, or you're not obligated to stay, but please feel free to listen and see if these can be added on to your recommendations when we address these in committee level. With that, with all the testimonies from the invited individuals, we now open the floor to the general public. And so please state your name for the record, and if you are representing any entity, and please limit your responses to 5 minutes. The floor is now open.
Good evening, Chairman Manglonia and the rest of the committee. My name is Crispin Manglonia Sablan. I just wanted to make a brief comment about this, some of this bill. I just saw it and I read a little bit on the paper regarding specifically the one on the importation of vehicles. That's House Bill 2368, right? Individuals, private. Right. All right. As a private person, I've been actually wanting to come to see the leadership, the lawmakers, to try to help the community. So at the present time, life is hard, right? All right. So I know that there's some jurisdiction around here in Micronesia that are availing to some of very good deals on vehicles. And I'm happy to know that we started the transport system, right? The quota, right? Anyways, at any rate, I was even thinking of encouraging to open up, just like in Guam. I always go to Guam and I see these right-hand vehicles. Those are very, very affordable cars. So, you know, for our people, especially our standard of living, you know, compared to our neighboring island like Guam, I think it would be wise to look at that instead of punishing these individuals that want to get a good deal in Guam or blah, 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 where, you know, to encourage them to open up. Again, it's also, again, I know there's dealers, right? Different dealers and blah, 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 you know, but to help the community, to encourage them to do business as another business. We can bring in secondhand cars from the Japan. I'm talking about the Japan. Some of you might be aware. Best before did blah blah. Whatever. Yeah, there are really good cars. I've been involved in that, and I know that it's very affordable. And at least so this view, I guess, is not at this time. I totally agree with the gentleman from Chamber of Commerce that you know it's really going to hurt people, especially if you don't have that kind of car here. And then you need that car specific car. For example, if I'm a disabled person and I need this kind of car and I only can get there, I'll be punished to pay extra tax to bring those kind of cars. You know, and I don't know who's pushing this kind of view, but I'm suspecting the dealership are trying to protect their thing. Anyways, that's all I got for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sablan. We also have copies of the bills, the 5 bills that we're discussing out on the table over here. If anyone would like a copy of the bills. And then you'll have another opportunity when we schedule a committee meeting to provide additional comments after you've had time to review these bills. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable President, Senate President Edith De Leon Guerrero, Honorable Chairman Donald Maglonia, and all Honorable Senate members. My name is Zazie. I am an intern at CCA, and today I will be reading 2 letters of oral survivor cancer. Starting with Claudine. Dear Ma'am and or Sir, I hope this letter finds you well and in good health. My name is Claudine Atalik, and I am a oral cancer survivor. I am writing to express my heartfelt support for the House Bill 23-41, which proposed the imposition of $5 excise tax per pound of imported bitter nut or fractional equivalent, as well as a 5 cent per pound or fractional equivalent tax on imported mixed lime. I speak as an oral cancer survivor who has personally witnessed the profound impact of the support and service offered by CCA. Their dedication to the prevention, early detection, and support for cancer patients and survivors has been instrumental in my journey towards recovery and improved quality of life. The work done by CCA has not only touched my life, but also countless lives in our community who have faced daunting challenge of cancer. By imposing tax on bitter nut and lime mix, we have an opportunity to fund the critical work of organizations like CCA. The purpose exist taxes, as outlined HB 2341, can play a pivotal role in generations much needed financial resource to enhance CCA's ability to continue its essential mission that includes public education campaign, early detection program, and patient prevention service and community outreach initiative that can make substantial difference in the life of those affected by cancer. Through the passage of the bill and the accolation of those who are navigating the challenge of cancer, funds to CCA who collectively contribute to a healthier and more resilient community. As of 2023, there were 29 registered oral cancer patients with CCA and 9 newly diagnosed, with rising numbers. I respectfully urge you to support HB 23-41 to accolade funds collected through these proposed excise tax to the Commonwealth Cancer Association. By doing so, we can help save lives, reduce the burden of cancer, and continue the vital work of supporting those in need. Thank you to your Thank you for your attention this matter. I appreciate your dedication and well-being to our community and the opportunity to make a meaningful impact on the fight against cancer. And then next I have another one by George N. Camacho. Have a day, Chairman. I write this bill I write this to support the Commonwealth Cancer Association receiving funds for the House Bill 2341. The service they provide are extremely important and vital to clients. CCA is dedicated to providing patient and caregiving support to promote cancer awareness and prevention. The CCA clientele include all different types of cancer patients, which is why I like to request the following amendments. Revenue generated with this legislation should be for all cancer patients and their caregiver, not just oral cancer patient. The revenue generated should be for all different types of service provided and not just stipends. A high percentage should accolade to CCA for they are the only agency that is strictly dedicated to cancer and the different service and need. I thank you for the opportunity to comment on this legislation and look forward to its passage. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zazi, and please extend our appreciation to Ms. Atalik and Mr. Camacho. Thank you.
Good af- nope. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, honorable committee members. My name is Vivica Rose Castro, and I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you. I apologize if my voice is shaking. I've never done this. I'm a bit nervous. I'm here today as the Commonwealth Cancer Association's, I'm forgetting my position title, Community Outreach and Marketing Coordinator. As you might guess, I am very strongly in favor of the passage of House Bill 23-41 with the amendment of including the CCA to receive 10% of the funding. I'm speaking as from my position where I have the opportunity to speak with cancer survivors. And I can tell you that oral cancer patients and oral cancer caregivers are among the hardest to get a hold of. As you might notice, we don't have any with us today. And when I was making calls to garner the support, the answers that I was getting were along the lines of, thank you. We want to speak, but, I don't want to go out in public because oral cancer is incredibly disfiguring. It impacts your face, and your face is so tied to your sense of identity and your sense of belonging in a community. And this isn't just the individual with cancer. This has a trickle-down effect into their families. I was speaking with one of my colleagues about this today, and I asked, how often is it that the spouse is the caregiver? And she let me know that if the survivor has an adult child, someone who is able to drive, someone who is above the age of 18, a lot of the burden falls on this child. And I'm 23 years old. That is incredibly heartbreaking to hear that people 5 years younger than me are picking up the burdens that are brought about by oral cancer. And this changes the roles and the dynamics within the family. And then this in turn changes the family's dynamic within our community. These families operate in isolation. They don't want to go out. They can't go out. They have to put their focuses somewhere else. They have to focus on surviving. And I genuinely believe that this bill and allowing the CCA 10%, just 10% for direct client services, for public outreach and education on betel nut, on the fact that it is a class 1 carcinogen as defined by the World Health Organization, by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I believe that this is one of the most impactful, very, I suppose it could be a painful burden, it could be a painful nudge, but this deterrent will stop younger people from chewing. I think that this is one of the best things that we could possibly do for our community as a whole, because the rates of oral cancer are rising. The rates of death among the working age population, people in their 30s, in their 40s, when they're supposed to be having kids, when they're supposed to be experiencing life, being productive members of our community, they have to focus on surviving. So truly, I ask you to weigh the cost of an excise tax versus the financial burden of oral cancer. Sincerely. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Castro.
Thank you.
Greetings, members of the committee. Thank you for your time and for this opportunity. My name is Jedrick Anachete, and I am currently a student in Marianas High School. I am the secretary of the Youth Advisory Panel and the Pre-Med Club. The Youth Advisory Panel is an organization that aims to bring wellness in our community through service and education. And the Pre-Med Club hopes to provide students with medical opportunities and educate the public in healthcare knowledge.
Hello, my name is Grace Mishkarian, and I am the Marianas High School's MHS Pre-Med Club's president, and we are testifying in support of the reinstatement of the original HB 23-41, through which the Commonwealth Cancer Association would be allocated 10% of the revenue raised from taxing areca or betel nut.
So last week, the leadership of the MHS Youth Advisory Panel, or YAP, and the Pre-Med Club worked together in hosting a school-wide presentation regarding the awareness of cancer in our community. In this presentation, MHS YAP and Pre-Med, the leaders brought in guest speakers to discuss experiences with cancer and more knowledge regarding the disease, all in hopes of achieving the student goal of spreading awareness on the subject. We owe it all to the help of CCA, who provided us with many brilliant minds and well-respected individuals in our community to discuss their thoughts, experiences, and knowledge, which will otherwise be unheard to the community in MHS. From the student feedback we received, their contribution touched the hearts of students, which we and our school will forever be grateful for. With our presentation, we intend to spread awareness of the issue as a whole. However, the discussion of one specific type of cancer was prevalent in the presentations. That type of cancer was oral cancer. On that day, we heard perspectives on oral cancer from various entities. We heard from the medical professionals who expressed their concerns with the high rates of betel nut chewing among the people of the Sinamay. We heard from the immediate family members who shared their heartbreaking stories of their relatives passing. And lastly, we heard from a survivor of oral cancer who pleaded for us to quit chewing betel nut and try to avoid it altogether. These insights not only showed students, staff, and the audience about the danger and scale of this cancer, but also showed us, leaders who facilitate this presentation, much more about oral cancer. Personally, I was touched and felt worried about my community. I do not wish for anyone to experience such a hardship that is easily preventable. With that, I believe incorporating this bill will not only benefit patients, but also me and you and the community as a whole. From the research I conducted for the presentations held at MHS, I learned that oral cancer was one of the most common cancers in the CNMI and continuously rising, which is a huge concern for us. I believe that with this bill, it will not just create progress regarding the problem of oral cancer in the CNMI, but also help with the concern of cancer in the CNMI as a whole, as the CCA will continue to bring this issue to light and strive for making the CNMI a healthier place.
So most betel nut use initiation occurs in adolescence, and we've seen instances of it throughout our whole lives. Both Jedrick and I are currently 16 years old, born and raised in Saipan, and have seen betel nut chewing in students younger than us and our peers. It is a known fact that betel nut chewing is rooted in our culture. From ages 14 and in some cases younger, teenagers are exposed to the areca nut from relatives, family, friends, or their peers. Whether it be due to tradition or because of societal expectations, these teenagers partake in chewing without knowing how detrimental it is to their health. We know that betel nut is addictive, and after years of chewing, it will grow hard for these teenagers to live without it. It will go from a fun activity to a habit to an addiction that they won't be able to end without external help. Without the proper education of the risks chewing betel nut poses, years will pass and they will continue to chew and develop health concerns that may be beyond their control. By allocating the CCA 10% of the tax revenue, they will be able to spread awareness of the health risks betel nut chewing causes to more people and aid those in need, like they have done already. As a student and a youth leader, we are asking on behalf of my club, school, and our age group to amend this bill to protect and help save the community from developing life-threatening habits and to create the best possible future for all generations to come. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Anicetti and Ms. Carrion.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairman Donald Magnolia and all other Honorable Senate members. I'm Sumaita Firdaus, a senior at Kagman High School. I'm also an intern at the Commonwealth Cancer Association. Despite it being my literal third day at the Commonwealth Cancer Association, I've encountered insights that I believe are crucial to share. The urgency of what I've learned is something I can't ignore. Let's dive into the concept of Class 1 carcinogens. It may sound like a heavy term, but it's vital to know. These are substances known to cause cancer in humans, and unfortunately, betel nuts fall into this category. The betel nut itself has been repeatedly proven to be a cancer-causing agent. This is why the proposed tax holds significant importance in preventing oral cancer. As someone who has worked in a dental office, I understand the paramount importance of oral health. Oral cancer not only poses a threat to life, but also leads to severe physical deformities. I vividly remember a presenter during middle school who shared the heartbreaking story of her brother's battle with oral cancer. The images she showed were haunting. He struggled to eat, withdrew from social life, and endured physical deformities that profoundly impacted his well being. Being in high school, my peers often think we're invincible, that health issues are something for later. However, the risks associated with betel nut consumption can manifest over time, affecting individuals of any age. One of my supervisors have shared that the youngest oral cancer death CCA has on records was a 19-year-old female. She is only 1 year older than me. In the end, whether we're high school students or seasoned advocates, the impact of the betel nut tax extends beyond its financial implications. It's a collective effort to safeguard our oral health and ultimately our quality of life. I urge you to add the CCA back as a beneficiary of the excise tax, allocating 10% to the CCA's mission. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Firdaus.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairman Donald Magnolia and all Honorable Senate members. My name is Marcilia Tata. I am the Client Services and Administrative at the Commonwealth Cancer Association. I want to comment on House Bill 23-41 because many cancer survivors, and specifically oral cancer survivors, often face challenges maintaining proper nutrition due to difficulties with chewing, swallowing, and taste changes resulting from treatments like surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. Products like Ensure Plus, Glucerna, Gevity, and Nepro play a crucial role in meeting their nutritional requirements. These supplements provide essential nutrients in an easy digestible form, helping the survivors maintain their strength energy levels during their recovery. While these nutritional supplements are essential, they can be prohibitively expensive. For many survivors, specialized products like Gevity and Nepro, which may be required due to specific dietary needs, often need to be special ordered, further increasing the costs. Even for those with insurance, coverage for these supplements may be limited. Co-payments and deductibles can still impose significant financial burdens, especially for those on fixed incomes or facing other medical expenses. Many cancer survivors, and specifically for oral cancer, may not have health insurance coverage at all, leaving them to bear the full cost of these nutritional supplement out of pocket. This places an additional strain on their finances during an already challenging time. The CCA plays a vital role in providing support to all cancer survivors. Through generous donor contributions, the CCA was able to offer financial assistance to help cover the cost of nutritional supplements and other essential needs. It is crucial to raise awareness about the financial challenges faced by cancer survivors and advocate for improved access of support. This could involve 10% of the excise tax on bitter nut to be allocated to CCA to increase funding for client assistance program. Thank you for giving me the time to speak to you guys.
Thank you, Ms. Tata.
Good afternoon, Good afternoon, Chairman Manglunya and members of the committee. My name is Lynn Tenorio, and I'm the Interim Executive Director for the Commonwealth Cancer Association. I'm here to make comment on House Bill 23-41 and also the draft, but mainly to offer alternative language to Section 4, page 4, line 3, to read as follows. I'd like to offer that 10% of the tax. So the read as follows: 10% of 10% goes to the Commonwealth Cancer Association. The executive director of the Commonwealth Cancer Association shall be the expenditure authority of these funds, and then 10% to the CNMI Division of Customs Biosecurity for Operations. The director of the CNMI Division of Customs Biosecurity shall be the expenditure authority for these funds. So please allow me to explain why we are requesting to be included to receive 10% of the excise tax that will be imposed on BeetleNet. So according to the CHCC Non-Communicable Disease Bureau, oral cancer is the third leading cause of cancer in the CNMI, second to breast cancer and lung cancer. Lung, obviously, we know is associated with tobacco. So is BeetleNet, because our users tend to put tobacco in BeetleNet. But as Vivica said, the CDC has already determined that BeetleNet alone is a class 1 carcinogen, so it alone causes cancer. The CCA has seen a growing demand and need for assistance by oral cancer survivors in our community. So what are the costs of survival and the quality of life does it have on us? We think that once cancer patient has undergone surgery and to remove the cancer, the tumor, and then they get their therapies, whether it's chemo or radiation, or sometimes both, we think that once all that is cleared, they're done and they're good to go. That's hardly the reality. They come home and they have to deal with the consequences and the side effects of those therapies. Their faces are disfigured. They can't eat. They can't open their mouths to eat or speak. They require the nutritional supplements that's in liquid form. Some cancer patients receive it through their mouth, and some cancer patients have a GI tube. Survivors bear the burden of the cost of the tubes, the medical supplies, the water picks that they need because they now cannot brush their teeth. Some need wheelchairs, commodes, and hospital beds. It depends on where they are in their diagnosis in terms of their recovery. The quality of life is changing for the cancer survivor and their entire family. Some survivors are not able to sleep. Some survivors don't produce saliva, so it is extremely distressing. It impacts their relationships, their personal relationships. They're not able to go and enjoy the work that they used to do for quite some time until they're able to be gainfully employed again. Some aren't able to enjoy the times with their families because of the factor of just their condition and the embarrassment, even within their own families. I think I gave every one of you a book by Jacqueline Iris Kitigwa, and she lost her father to oral cancer at the age of 6, and she decided to memorialize her memories of her dad because she's only 6. So by the time she grows up, that memory is going to be gone. It fades. And so in that, she is expressing her loss and the times that she remembers spent with him, and imagine the impact it has on children. It is lifelong. We can all agree that the effects of cancer are enormous on the survivor, the families, and our community. So what can we do? With the increased need of assistance by cancer survivors, CCA had to make difficult decisions to make cuts in assistance based on the monies we have been able to raise. We can only provide what we can afford. We had to work hard to raise money throughout the past year through small fundraisers last year, but fortunately, since the pandemic, early May, the March Against Cancer is going to be our big event that we're finally bringing up after 4 years. I can deeply appreciate and understand the challenging decisions you all make. Your role, like mine, is to work together with our partners to create solutions for the greater good. We have to make tough decisions, but we do not sacrifice. We don't sacrifice one for the other. We compromise to meet the needs of our community. At CCA, our community are the cancer survivors and their families, as well as the greater community, because we also do prevention, education, and awareness, and so that's for the community at large. Our community is your community. So what can we do? We share our resources, as we can all protect and take care of our collective community together. The 10% would be a life ring for CCA to continue to provide the growing need of assistance as cancer rates continue to rise in the CNMI. A little bit goes a long way. A little bit is better than nothing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Interim Director Tenorio.
Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon. And Nogathin, for once again, this is not MPLT, thank God. It's totally different. And I'm here, of course, having eaten lunch because, I've been here kind of monitoring a lot of the activities of this committee, this body. And you guys are doing a superb job trying to figure out how to, address all parties. And thank you for your time and patience, Chairman Manglonian, subcommittee chairman, another chairman and members of this body. I'm here actually, I'm happy very much that I'm here. I think this is a destiny that I have to stand here in front of all this. Not these officers here, they're, I thank you for coming. These officers, sorry, my brother-in-law and those officers, they're very important back there. But behind me is students. And I used to teach substitute teaching when I don't do consulting work in public and here in private. I enjoy teaching. So unfortunately, I want to ask the Commonwealth Health Association, Cancer Association, because I noticed that House Bill 2341 and HT1, the importation of betel nut for the excess tax on the House Bill 237 about this tobacco, right? This too is directly linked to health. And it's going to take me more than 5 minutes to tell my story, my almost 20 years of cancer. Right now, I'm stage 4 L1 lumbar cancer. For those students that do not know what causes that, I want them to know, Mr. Chairman, that I've stage 4. They removed my right kidney, 2000 and way back in the early days. They detected, not here. I had to go to Hawaii because the doctors cannot find what's wrong with me. I was losing weight, and so they took out a stage 4 kidney nephrectomy, right kidney. I don't smoke. I don't chew with tobacco. I enjoy chewing, but not once in a while. It's a stress relief for myself. I don't use any afuk lime except from yap, And I don't chew betel nut with tobacco. I chew with pupulu, the leaves. And I've survived 4 cancer. I have another cancer in 2017, colorectal cancer, aggressive stage 2, survived that, all at Queen's Hospital. And then I had colon cancer. aggressive colon cancer, 2019. So far, the doctor told me last year it went away. But there's one that appeared on my back, all number, stage 4. So I oppose giving any money to Commonwealth Cancer Association if whatever this law, if it becomes a law. Because there's a reason, it's a personal reason why I oppose. When I was in Hawaii for cancer treatment, medical referral gave me a hard time. Out of 19 years, almost all this time, I only had 1 year and a half of support from medical referral. Now it's healthcare network. And all of this is giving them money that, critical illnesses like heart disease and cancer. So the problem here in our island is really the environment. I was tested for, Mr. Chairman, I was tested a couple years ago by Queen's Hospital and the University of Hawaii Medical School research. Part of the research, they took my blood and they sent it to San Francisco, California. Came back and it's not DNA. So they asked me, where did I grow up? I grew up in Tinian and then I spent time in Saipan. And these two are battlegrounds. And these students must know that World War II, and prior to World War II, there was industrial pollution from the military, both Japanese military and the United States. And it's almost 70 years. And, to say that biru nut is the cause of cancer, CDC? No, it's not. I've seen a lot of people from elders that never use cigarettes, and they chew all the way up to the 80s. And I've seen them in Yap. They're still alive. They don't have any chewing problem with oral cancer. What's the problem with this is there's a bill pending, I understand, Senator Magofnia, to require that all afuk must be tested, lime, that is sold at every store. Because there's no testing whether it's pure, afuk. If you understand the lime process, it's brought from coral, dead corals. And I remember when I was young, I used to do it in Tinian with my uncle. And it has to be tested here in our islands. And biru nut to impose tax inbound from the federal states of Micronesia or Palau or Guam. A lot of the biru nut here are not grown locally by the indigenous people, the Chamorros or others. A lot of these are owned by foreigners. And I went around and tried to buy a biru nut and I seen it. And Mr. Chairman, the issue here is it's wrong to believe that the Center for Disease Control, that biru nut is causing the cancer. I chewed for many years. So far, I don't have oral cancer. But I've seen oral cancer early because I remember in Hawaii, there's a couple of them that died before me when and I survived. But the problem with oral cancer is cigarettes. They chew cigarettes. It's at the store. Afuk, you don't know what, they produce locally afuk. It's never been tested. And we're chewing something we don't know. So you have to trust someone that imports or make someone the lime. And the tobacco, I've talked to students even today. When I see them, I said, don't use tobacco when you're chewing. If you want to survive for the next 5-10 years. But it's discrimination and injustice for the indigenous people to say that the Commonwealth Health Center is telling us that biru nut is causing cancer. That's insensitive culturally. And you're going to impose importation we are part of the APIL. You don't promote by imposing higher taxes in our borders. Recently, there's delegates from here, from the legislators that went abroad to the FSM and other places. What we need to do is figure out what is the main problem with cancer. And as of today, I want to go to Hawaii, Mr. Chairman, but the medical referral said, the doctors, the committee said, no, you go to Guam. So the problem here is there's a misinformation about this whole thing about birunat and leaves pupulu and the afuk. What we need to do is support Senator Magofni's bill to have it tested in both houses and pass it and randomly assign a government agency or a division or a department to randomly test every producers of lime. And it's very difficult, this tobacco thing, Mr. Chairman, members of the body. I don't have that solution, but the only solution here is the importation of tobacco. If we're going to stop cancer, then we should stop importing cigarettes. That's how you stop cancer. But that's a big controversial proposal, but the bottom line is, don't give this money to the health center. Don't give the money to the Cancer Association, because they're misappropriating where they really need cancer treatment when they went abroad. So they don't have to go fundraising. A lot of our cancer patients, especially the Tototano, Chamorros, they're all there fundraising. What are you doing? I'm fundraising because you're going to cancer in Hawaii or Guam or in California or somewhere. If we're gonna assign money to help the cancer patients, then give them directly. Don't give them to Commonwealth Cancer Health Association. What do they do? You know what? I went there, and if you go there, my name's up there on the board, Mr. Chairman. But I don't get one penny from them. You know why? I want them to help cancer patients that are going abroad for treatment. And education should be the major role of our society, which is the parents and the school, Mr. Chairman, and that's where the money should be spent. Give it to the cancer patients so they can get treatment abroad. Because our cancer, so far that I've survived because I went on my own, trying my best. I've been harassed politically. I've been harassed personally. I've been harassed, denied left to right. I left since June of last year, Hawaii. And they didn't give me a due process to speak to them. And it's already February. So I oppose any increase of this House Bill 2341 HD1. This is an injustice for the Tototano. And we have to have more public hearing about this. And secondly, any more of this by health center telling us that, and CDC telling us that birunat is the cause of cancer? I think that's wrong. Our environment is toxic. Tinian and Saipan especially. And I would, that's how I conclude this. And lastly, Mr. Chairman, I oppose this, the increase of this excess tax. It has to go back again and redraft and more public hearing and more. And lastly, on this House Bill 2374, House Draft 1, about this 3% tax on yearly gross business of construction activities, 200,000. Mr. Chairman and members of this committee, we've just been hearing almost all day and almost last week and 2 weeks about $15 million for the EDA and 100-some million, close to $100 million from EDA and 15 million on MPLT and so forth. I think this 3% is too low. I support this bill, but we should increase it because the government needs a lot of money, and we need the contribution from the construction companies to contribute to the economy, because at this moment our minimum wage is low. So I support this 2374 House Draft 1, but make it higher than 3%, 5%, 10%, so we can have millions of dollars coming in from this money coming in from the United States and other investment. Sus Masi, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak on this. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Hofschneider.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Zaban, if you would like to make additional comments, we'll just go for the first round to provide everyone an opportunity.
I can make a comment on the bill. I come from the bill.
Good afternoon. I'm going to speak on my behalf, just as myself. My name is Liana Sablan Hofschneider. I'm here regarding House Bill 2341 and also House Bill 2307 and House Bill 2368. For those of you that are not familiar, like Richard was saying, my husband, that's Richard, my husband, I've been a caregiver for Richard for 18 years, going on 19. And I'm not going to reiterate that, but this almost 19 years of surviving cancer at different levels, from stage 4 to aggressive stage 2. Now he's on stage 4 again for his lumbar. So he had stage 4 nephrectomy on his right kidney, stage 2 colon colorectal, stage 2 prostate, stage 4 lumbar. And again, like I said, it's been a very challenging journey. And I'm very, very happy today that the Cancer Association interim directors here and those great youth, because it's about them. Why I'm here today is about them. And I want to take a visit because I see that there's a difference in the office, to ask them to remove Richard's name on the board because they've been misappropriating that name. He's never been a service. He's never been served by the Cancer Association. And in that, I know that the law provides them funding from the tobacco settlement. I want the legislature, I'm asking the legislature to actually have an oversight on how those fundings were spent and some other fundings that are appropriated to CCA. I'm urging you guys to look at that. Secondly, I know that there's an appropriation request for additional supplemental for the health network program at the Commonwealth Health Center. Similarly, I echo Senator Paul's request the other day, requesting about needing to hear where they're at. And so I'm gonna focus on that bill, not the 2341. I don't support the way the bill is written. In fact, it's very discriminatory. If you look at the drafting of the bill, they interchangeably use bill not, but they didn't use pugwa. And then they use ofuk and they use lime and then some other word because I'm part of the Chuk heritage and which is not that. And so why would we not use pugwa but we use ofuk? And why the bill is very inconsistent, it's very racial and it's discriminatory in itself. So we have to have a parallel in how we do interpretation of the law. We cannot be piggybacking things that we don't have much information. And I ask this body, the entire legislative body, including the gubernatorial, the executive branch, and the judicial branch, to please take the Carolinian English Dictionary and read that, because the dictionary in itself says it's discriminatory. It does not represent the other people that are from the Caroline Island. So when we do a public policy drafting, we have to be very cautious as to
what are the things we're putting into public policy, because public policy, like ourselves, we're researchers, we go back to it. And so going back to 2341, why I am not supporting that content. Not only is it the way it's written, but the way in which it's delivering the issues that it's saying that the cancer society, the cancer issue in the cinema. And I've heard enough. I think several from the this great youth that took the courage to come up here, and I'm very happy that they're coming up here, because this is the place to mold public policy. Carcinogen is in the tobacco. And there's thousands of that. That's why we have a tobacco settlement. We know that that's a very big lawsuit. Um, I don't know if these guys are aware, but I want to share with them information about Anaguan. Anaguan is the best sunshine casino down there in Garapan, Right University in Austria, in collaboration with Harvard University, recently presented their DNA testing that said that the people from Anaguan, who are 1,000-year-old ladies, she had betel nut stain on her, and those betel nut stains, she had a full denture, but how they found out that she was a Chamorro woman is because of her inner ear that was done and tested. And the reason why I put this up is because if she's 1,000 years old and she had all these betel nut stain, and she's not isolated, there's others in her tribe, in her wherever that they bury them. There's 800 that they reburied down there at Anaguan. So these old folks are 1,000 years old with complete denture with betel nut stain, pupulu, ofuk, then, I'm sure that they had Lyme. Lyme at that time, so that's why they have that. And then pupulu, the pepper leaf, and then the pugwa, the betel nut. They also had introduction of tobacco, but there's a never mention of chewing the tobacco until later. And what was the tobacco that they chew? Amaska, they call it amaska. But amaska was just amaska. It's just a leaf. It didn't have all the carcinogens. So that you need to go back and I echo that we need more further on that. I think it's misappropriation, and we will write to the Center for Disease Control that in Tinian and Saipan, the high cancer rate here is six highest cancer rate per capita, and I stand to be corrected. Six highest cancer rate per capita. The oral cancer, as one was saying, that is the third highest cancer rate at the CHCC. I also want to have the CDC check our water, because our soil is where we get our plants. Our water is our groundwater, which is also can be our drinking water in some places like Tinian and in Rhoda. They left behind all their arsenic poisoning, and arsenic poisoning are a derivative of the metals that they left behind from the war, which is 80 some years old. So you don't have to go far. If you'd go down here to one of the golf courses down here, the USA's, and USA's means the U.S. Army Corps of Engineer. If you hit the golf course in one of those holes, you better run away, because that dirt, which is, I'm trying to talk about our air, the air we breathe, it's poisonous. And where do we get this? These are all from the war, the occupation after the war, and during the war, and during the Japanese time, because they left all their garbage and they didn't clean up. So I want the youth, the MHS YAP Club, the CCA, and others that are here testifying in support of 2341 to please give us an opportunity to share some facts and help me advocate for environmental health. We need to clean our ocean. We need to clean our soil, and we need to stop importing, single use, and we need to stop importing plastic and the whole 9 yards. So I'm not going to make this too long, because I get very emotional when I talk about our journey. And so when I talk, I cannot just say I'm against it without offering some solution. So in looking at 2341, I know the government needs funding. I'm recommending that the annual license fee at the Department of Commerce should be increased, because that all businesses can actually properly budget that and can expect to have an increase, provide a budgetary for the annual licensing. That's my recommendation. And as far as I think Richard already said it, we need to do the testing on the lime. We need to do mandatory labeling on the bill nut and the limes, and we need to have you have a stamp where it says it's been tested. That needs to be done. I don't want to talk about anything else because that's serious, because you put it into your body, and I know that betel nut is not a carcinogen. The betel nut where it was planted has the carcinogen, and we want to prove that. And I'm going to use the youth to help me with that. Now, HB 2307, which is tobacco, I wholeheartedly support the increase of the tobacco. I'm not the expert, and with all due respect, with the smokers. My dad is a 2-pack smoker, and I must tell you, he died at 64, almost 65 years old, but he never quit smoking, and he didn't die of lung cancer. He died of something else. But I'm not endorsing that. I'm just saying that the people that are the expert would actually give you guys what is an appropriate rate to increase that. And lastly, I want to talk about the personal vehicle tax. Please. I have a habit of going to Guam and buy my vehicle because you know why? With all due respect, when it's $2,000 difference, that's almost like Matson's rate, $1,500 from Guam to here, right? But when it's 5,000, for goodness gracious, I will go and buy it in Guam. That's the bottom line. What you guys didn't may want to look at, because if you want to tax this is personal, is the online orders. I'm almost constantly going to the mailbox opening online, and there's no tax there. See, Amazon doesn't tax, does it? I mean, have I missed it? It's just a rhetorical question. But if there's something that you want to look at, is you want to look at work with customs and look at how many online orders that are coming in the mail, because if we're not taxing them here and they're not being taxed over there, because we can also get an exemption from taxes where our location, because we don't have taxes. Like if you live in Portland, you get that tax exemption. Maybe that's some area that you guys want to look at, the online order. We did this when I was at the university, and I know my advisor really got pissed off at me, but that's something you want to look at. And that's basically the last of that. And just to put a closure, thank you again, Madam President and Sir, Chairman, Chairman Dono and Chairwoman Magofnia, and senators. Sizus masin ni tempun mizu utungan na it's a long day. Nakuku diyan nita pago na diyan lo no importante na tafanwentus por este. No pwede na inagwaha mas public hearing zabi ekoa tamano lang si Richard. We're trying to forge a APIL. Is for those that are not aware, the APIL is an acronym for Association of Pacific Island Legislators. These are members from the region that sit together as legislators, and they look at things that affect our region from economy to healthcare. So I think it's not sinking when we're trying to promote regional support, and yet we're doing this taxing them. Sizus masi dan was notice.
Thank you, Ms. Hofschneider.
Good evening, Chairman and committee members. My name is Robert Torres, and I'm here to register my support of House Bill 23-41 with the amendment for the out of 20%, 10% for the CNMI Customs and 10% for the Commonwealth Cancer Association. I just have to say that why? My background today is not as a lawyer, but when I returned home one of the first activities I did was to establish or to conduct and chair the first Commonwealth Relay for Life. And if anybody remembers the Relay for Life, it's the signature event for the American Cancer Society. And well, then you may ask, well, why do we have the Marianas March Against Cancer as opposed to the Relay for Life? Well, the reality was the CNMI being so small, under the system, all the money you raise goes to the national program. And it became important that the money that was raised with that first session was 67,000, and it seemed important that we keep that money here for our programs. And so as a result, in a few years later, we established the Commonwealth Cancer Association, along with Dr. Jack Hardy, Carmen Gaskins, and others in that history. I think it was in 2003. And since then, all the money that has been raised has stayed here in our Commonwealth and in non-organizations, family organizations like the Freddie Hofschneider Foundation, and the Bodig family and the corporate supporters have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the Commonwealth Cancer Association for cancer education, prevention, and education. And the support services that have been described by some of the students. And it is a non-government organization. The money, we raise the money in private organizations and do not and have not received the statement. And one thing I disfavor is that when people come for public comments, they shouldn't really be attacked or criticized for their comments. They should be respected because the comments are to the body and the legislation. But oftentimes we forget that and we criticize each other. But we do have to make sure that our facts are correct when someone is testifying or presenting comments. The Commonwealth Cancer Association has never received any money from the Tobacco Settlement Fund. I know this as the Attorney General who's handled the settlement fund, and it cannot because it goes to the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation. That's the CNMI gets the settlement fund, not a nonprofit. So that's not a correct fact. The correct fact is that betel nut, like alcohol and others, and tobacco are carcinogens that cause and are known and supported by the data and the science to cause cancer. The legislature, when it passed the law amending and requiring and regulating betel nut sales that moved those containers to the back and required persons to be over the age of 18 to purchase, cited the science with the World Health Organization, the American Cancer Society, the Center for Disease Control that does the science and the research. And if anyone remembered last April with Governor Palacios with the signing of the resolution, the testimony by Dr. Brett and the professionals and the data, if you hear him talking about the increasing number of cancer diagnosis for oral cancer, I think it's pretty hard to say that cancer isn't a problem. It's increased, it's on the rise, and it's costing the CNMI millions of dollars for treatment and care to send our loved ones and relatives off island. The money that you give to the Cancer Association is going to be like the money that you give to Customs. Customs will use it to enforce and protect and charge and protect our borders from drugs and other controlled substances coming in. The Cancer Association will use it to educate and prevention and education through education, so that we don't chew, we don't contract, and we can prevent. This is perhaps the one cancer that you can prevent. The other one is, the cancer that comes from alcohol or tobacco if you're not smoking. So we can prevent that by not engaging in that behavior. But when our loved ones come back, imagine the kind of cost for support that doesn't come from CHC. That's where the money is. And I would submit to you, I've been not only involved in the Cancer Association, but enlisting the support for people to raise the money. So I am putting my money where my mouth is, and my mouth is to support the Cancer Association. I asked the committee that 10% is hardly a drop in the bucket, but adding it to the money that our citizens raise and will be raising on May 6th, for the Marianas March Against Cancer that's coming back from post-COVID, to raise those funds for education and treatment. And it shouldn't be the case. We don't want to lose. Why? Why is this 10% important? It's not enough, but it's a great shot in the arm to be able to have this money coming in from the amount of betel nut that is imported. It is a lot. And anyone who's ever arrived at the airport and sees the bins and bins that are brought in and brought over to CNMI Customs, on the data that comes in, the projection is over what, $1.2 million just on this tax alone. And how much money is made once those products are in. But who makes the money? That's fine. We're not going to quarrel with free commerce. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you look on the other side, there's a health impact. And that health impact is hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars, maybe not hundreds, but tens of millions. And what is the cost and loss of lives? If we search in the persons we've lost in our own background, how many have we lost to oral cancer? It could have been prevented. We know we've lost young men on Tinian at 32 years old due to oral cancer. We know that. And we're losing some more. We shouldn't. So I stand here not as an advocate of the law, but as an advocate of health. And this is important for the committee to understand, that it is not a gift. The gift would be to prevent oral cancer. And we're just going to have to support it that way, because the cost of loss of life and the cost of impact in terms of the economics, we shouldn't have to send them on. And that is our culture. Our culture is supporting each other and causing each other to live longer. Because if we're not around to live longer, culture won't follow when we're losing our loved ones who aren't around long enough to pass it down. So for those reasons, I ask the committee to endorse the recommended amendment and pass the House bill with the amendment. And I'm sure the members and our brothers and sisters are down in the House will listen to this committee and be happy that at least one bill has come back to them, and they won't be so hurt that many others may not. But, to make light of the policy calls, policy making is not easy. But I think this is one policy that, while we may disagree in terms of its necessity and its impact, or at how it impacts business, nobody likes taxes. But this is a necessary and proper commitment of policy for health reasons. And for these reasons, I ask the committee support and endorsement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Torres.
I'm gonna come from left field now. This is I'm not in support or I'm not against. I'm just here to give an opinion of what I'm sensing. Okay, so I hear both sides, and they're wonderful.
Sorry, before you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Name.
Joyce Tarot. Just a person of just wanting to hear some stuff. Right? Can you hear me? Pick up the volume, or I need to pick up my volume. So anyway, oh, Holy Spirit. Okay, so I'm just here to say, sickness and diseases are things that come in our lives. And sometimes we ourselves are accountable for those things. And so to implement something at a level that would help others is fine. But ultimately, we as individuals in our own house, in our own work, and in whatever we do, we are accountable. So what I do, if my kids, I tell them, don't drink, don't smoke, and they drink and they smoke. And by the grace of God, they're not sick, okay? By the grace of God, they don't get sick, right? And that's the part I want to acknowledge. God can save. God gives life. And for every time we try to fix things because we think that we can help someone, the intent is very good, because that's what God wants, is that we would help each other. But sometimes when we become too intentional to be a helper for so many, then you've become an enabler where the person is not accountable for their own decisions. That is life. Okay? And I sit here and I listen, and they're beautiful. Their intentions are wonderful. It's to try and keep people alive. All right? But at some point, and I was born and raised here, I grew up as a Catholic. I became a Protestant. I became a Baptist. Okay? But that's the whole point. Don't leave God out of the picture. And what has happened is because we have left God. We have left him on the pulpit and we say, oh, we can fix it. But if you can take God with you and put him in your heart and say, look, I'm not the answer to you. How about we work together and see what God wants to do? I have come in a place where I have encountered the real God who can take you out by your spirit and you won't know where you're at, but you come back and you will say, I don't know if I was in my body or out of my body. And so for that, I'm here to share. Our intentions are always wonderful. Our intentions are wonderful. But like a drug addict and like an alcohol or like a smoker, how much do you want it? You're going to have to want to stop. And what's going to happen, you keep taxing people and trying to get money because the government doesn't have money. People will start stealing and killing, and that is what we're seeing right now. Because they cannot afford what you keep taking up and up, but they are accountable for their actions. So get the police officers to arrest them. Get them out of the streets so they'll know you were accountable for your own actions. Okay? This is about health. But health doesn't just stay in the Cancer Society. Health doesn't just stay with the police department. Health is a community thing where God, I was raised with God. I was raised with God as a Catholic. I was raised with God as a Baptist. God is in all things. And this separation of church and state has brought a community into a place where we have let God out of school and out of the government. And so sickness and disease will come. And it's because we say, oh, we can fix it. We can fix it. Prayer in everything that you do, whether you wake up early in the morning or whatever you're driving in your car. Prayer. Father says, where is my prayer? Isn't that what the Catholics say? I grew up with the 10 Commandments. I grew up with our Father who is in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Where's his kingdom? Where is God's kingdom? You know what they call it? Elvis has left the building because he's not wanted. In our own personal life, that is you and God. Here, you got to remember the money says, in God we trust. It didn't say in the money we trust. So use wisdom. Ask him for wisdom. The wisdom of God will give you the wisdom that comes through each and every one of you, each and every person that's in here, to be led to do that which is good and right, not in the sight of man, but in the sight of God. And so my heart, I've seen people get healed just out of natural things. Cancer, because it's natural. God said, I created heaven and earth. Earth was meant to give you healing. Healing in the leaves, healing in your hands, healings with the words that you speak. So I sit here What you believe is what you behold. If you believe tobacco will make you sick, guarantee, because it's what you believe. It's just like our belief system. What you believe, you bring it to life. God said, whatever you speak, and if you believe it, boom, it happens. Because you believe it so much, you bring it life. So I speak death to the spirit of death to anyone who thinks that death has more power than God. And that is my heart. I came back because I have an encounter with the Father, and I haven't stopped having that encounter. But now I know that I'm ready to speak and say, Father, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. How is it in heaven, folks? You're supposed to be alive. You're supposed to be alive. But that prayer that is prayed every day and everywhere is what God wants to manifest on earth as it is in heaven. Why? Because he just wants us to have life and have it abundantly. Abundantly just means to the greatest extent that you can in love, in truth, in righteousness, in peace, and in the greatest thing of all, it's his love. And you know what he said? He said the Pacific Island nation is the nation that hosts the greatest gift of all, is their belief system, because what they believe comes to pass. How much more if believe in a God who is mightier, who created the heavens and the earth. Why do you think people who travel on these canoes from island to island, ask them, they tell you your story. He speaks to us with the stars. He tells us with no technology. That's a God that still lives today. And if we will just seek him out on it in your own life and in the life of others, whatsoever you believe, you become and you behold. So my heart is we keep the heart right. The heart of the Father has always been in there. But we have just become so drawn to the things of the world that we forgot the most important thing. And that is to love one another, to be truthful. And this is one thing I've learned. When you love someone enough, you will tell them the truth. I grew up loving so much, but I learned how to pretend. And for that, I got sick. But when I saw God and I cried out to him and I said, God, forgive me and help me, he took me up. He took me up to a place that I don't know, but I'm telling you, God is real. And there are people here. I have spoken to them. They have their own encounters, but they don't want to speak it. Why? Because we will say they're crazy. Because, oh, timagahi rin no. Ay, titagen no and no, right? I mean, you start bombarding them and you start hitting their spirit with the piercing. You know how Jesus was nailed and pierced? That's what you do. When somebody tells you an encounter with God and you say, Lana kalankaduduko or whatever, right? You pierce the heart of God, and it's called the Spirit of God. And that spirit that we call intuition, that gut feeling, when you ignore that, then you can compromise what God wants you to do. And sometimes it's hard. It's hard. While Jesus died, being called a glutton, he was called everything else in life. But what? He loves so much. And he says, Father, I'm willing. Send me. I'll go so that they don't have to die. I'll die for them so that they don't have to. So my heart here, speaking the things of God, is because God is calling out, saying, where's my people? I've been here for how many? I've been coming here, and Pete knows it. I don't usually come here. But I've been coming for what, and I keep having to ask God, Lord, what is it? What is it? Right? It's because in the Bible it says if your leaders are good, the fruit of it will show on your land. If your leaders are not, the same fruit will be that. So it's just something to think about, you know? Just be in your own space, your own time at home. Just open the scripture. You know, you don't have to read the whole Bible. I used to read the whole
Miss
Bible.
Darrow, can
right?
we try to rein it in, or
Yeah.
if you'd
I
like to
got you.
submit further
Yeah,
comments?
Yeah. So I just want to thank you. But if you would give me the permission to pray for you, I would appreciate it. And I think God would appreciate it. But it's a permission, it's a question being asked. And it's a call that you have to make. It's either a yes or a no.
I'm sorry, but maybe this is something we can discuss off the committee.
Maybe if you, Chairman, maybe I recommend that before we adjourn, if you would be patient enough to wait, and before we close this meeting, I think the members will welcome you for a closing prayer. Can we do that? If the gracious lady, I thank you for your beautiful remarks this afternoon. And if you don't mind for closing, maybe we can do the closing prayer.
Thank you for the
Recommendation.
opportunity. And I'm more than willing. God is a good father.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Darrow. Any other comments for those who haven't come forward? If none, Mr. Sablan, I will restrict it to 2 minutes just so that we don't keep going around, but we will have future opportunities to comment on these bills when the committee addresses these bills in a different setting. Thank you. And I know I was wondering when you're going to get to the other legislation that you.
Talk about the Birnat, and these wonderful students and staff from the CACC are here to ask for help, right? Again, my name is Crispin Magona Sablan. I'm here now specifically for my business. So I'm one of the guys that bring in betel nuts. Not only bring betel nuts, but I also have plantations of betel nuts. And I wrote this. I don't want to get run all over the place. I am opposing this bill for the following reasons. One, raising the excise tax from about 5%. They're currently charging us to $5 per pound is clear to us, importers, and to the local consumers. It will hurt us. This law will discourage me and others to possibly stop and continue to pay, and not to continue to pay these high costs of the commodity that we bring to our island consumers. The high cost of overhead expenses we pay on freight and airfare when we fly in with these things, as a businessman, are already major challenges we have to cope in order to bring in the betel nuts from Micronesia, Yap, Ponape, blah, blah, blah. This bill will negatively affect our business, my business, to current economy, because it's not good. That is to say, people are having a lot of problems. We have little money going around. We know that. To buy things from the stores. Our local consumers don't have to suffer another daily item they need or want at the stores. Personally, I treat and consume betel nut as a herb. And these students might totally laugh at me, but I use betel nut as my herb. And daily food to prevent stomach worms. I'm one of the people that eat a lot of raw meat, sashimi, even beef kelaguen, blah, blah, blah. This bill will definitely affect our business and will close down our business because of high costs to bring in imported betel nuts. As a wholesaler, I'm a wholesaler, we are being double taxed. I want you to be aware that we pay excess tax as well as the BGRT, Business Gross Revenue Tax. I also have a business in Guam. They don't charge wholesalers. It's called double taxation. I don't talk because this is my island. I love my island. It's okay, right? But this is too much. Number two, I want to challenge our elected leaders to protect our culture. Yeah. And all these comments coming in, I'm sorry, I've been doing research for over 38 years. I've been in this field. I'm not a regular person, I'm also a counselor, substance abuse professional. And I have to be able to answer people when they talk to me. Mrs. Sablan, why are you eating beer nut? I have to be honest to them because I also care for my health. And the ladies and some of the comments I heard are right on target. Education. I'm a recovered alcoholic addict. Recovered. I'm supposed to be dead, not to be here. But I learned that I have a disease, co-addiction. Right? So, the long story short, I'm really hurt because I'm one of the, I think, not so many people who can actually help in this area. But nobody called me. Oh, you're too busy. No, I'm not busy. For my people, for my island, I will be here to talk about this. Not only as a person who's been gifted, given more wisdom in this area, alcohol and drugs, but also to help people who needs help. Right? And I know that for treatment, blah, blah, blah. I truly believe that any of these taxes that are going to come in should go to education, meaning prevention. All right? Those kind of stuff. I want to challenge our elected leaders to protect our cultural practices and use amongst our indigenous people. Chewing betel nut has been practiced by our people for centuries. I am, like I mentioned earlier, that the use of betel nut, also personally, I use it for health reasons. Just the opposite of what I'm hearing. Yeah. I'm not a scientist, but I do research and I learn. And I also, one of the most, scientific thing that I trust that I know is the University of Hawaii did actually, way back in 1987. They brought all these scientists from WHO, from the World Health, NADAC, to test this betel nut from all the islands, the way they chew. Because every island a little bit different, right? The way they chew. Guam specifically, zero cancer. Why? They only chew the nut. That's a fact. I interviewed hundreds of people. Today, the media and healthcare community has labeled betel nuts as a cancer-causing substance, which is totally wrong. It's a really racial thing. I connect this with the food bat. I used to bring food bat, but the federal said, no, what the hell are you eating flying rats? I used to call that flying rats. I love fruit bat. The first time I tried fruit bat, I said, damn, I'm a damn chamorro. I love fruit bat. Right? Those are the things that fruit bat, we never challenge that too. Because, like myself, I can bring fruit bat from Palau, but no, they ban us. We need to challenge that. Because I'm a chamorro. I eat that thing. I'm a chamorro, I eat betel nut.
Mr. Sablan, can we wrap up since
so
we allow you that opportunity?
All right. Lastly, since betel nut is a consumable product, which falls on as an edible item product, right? It must be treated the same as chewing gum. There's American people that hate betel nut. Tell them, your chewing gum too could be dangerous. Because Saipan, actually, Chamorros, I believe they were number 5 in the world for diabetes, incidence of diabetes. And if you're not chewing sugarless, you're contradicting your own health. Okay. So, anyways, these are the bias, really racist type of things to do because they don't chew blah blah blah. Okay. I'm here because I'm a Chamorro, because of Carolinian blood. I love my island. I love my people. And anything I can help, please call me. I'm not saying I know everything, but I know I probably can help. That's why I'm against that. It's anti-business. And Why is the people? See, a lot of people don't know, but I did a what call that? Um, I have went around the village and get their signatures. Some of them are scared to sign because the children might be fired from the job. I said, hey, this is to tell our leaders that you don't agree. It's a lot of them. I'm not going to sign them, but tell these people, why are you going to touch the bill not? Touch the bubblegum. anyways, that's what I got.
Thank you, Mr. Sablan.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Go in on your presentation. You might show also.
All right. Any other comments from the public before we close today? Is it something new or
No,
a continuation?
add additional because I left up with the I asked something new.
I'll give you 2 minutes, Mr.
Yeah,
Fay.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know everyone's we're tired and sorry but I want to comment on House Bill 2341 HD1, the bitter nut, and the tobacco. It's really, when I spoke earlier, it's very emotional for me because I'm a cancer patient ongoing. So to speak in front of this body, senators and Mr. Chairman and all this, this is the first time I've spoke publicly. And I don't know how many people are watching this, but I'm pretty sure they're probably interested to hear. But the critical thing about this legislation, I'm not going to guess what this committee is going to do. But the reason why I'm opposing this is the allocation of money, one of the major things. When you're going to increase something, you have to make sure it goes to the right people. And it has to be evenly, treated together. People that produce and sell bitter nut within the Northern Marianas and people that import afuk, they have to be equally responsible for all of this. And I've been to Yap twice, and that's where my grandfather was born. My father was born, and they speak the Mogothin dialect. And when I go down there, I'm so amazed, Mr. Chairman, because it's so clean. People, they don't spit out there on the street. Everybody has and I've seen elders that are close to 80 years old and they're still alive. They chew every day. And I make a joke sometimes that, the Mr. Chairman, the toothbrush, the Colgate and all the stuff, maybe it's a bad business down there. Because when you chew, I noticed that I, jokingly said the first thing they do is they look for their bitter nut and their papulo and they chew in the morning. They chew all the way until the evening. And I spend time there, a couple times. And that's why I'm saying that we can debate about the scientific stuff. CDC did this, Dr. Brett this, I know who's Dr. Brett, and healthcare centers doing this. But one thing for sure is that it's a questionable of what is the truth about the bitter nut and the afuk. And I don't believe that we should be increasing something that we're importing because we're creating a disharmony among the Association of Pacific Island Legislatures and among the neighboring islands. And I don't believe that we should single out bitter nut. And here we are. We're promoting tourism, and there's all over. There's bar and restaurants. I would like to. Sometimes I go. A lot of you have gone to Alca Resort. You know what they do? Oh, $43 for endless beer, endless wine, endless. Every Friday or every Sunday they have the seafood. I love to do that. And for couples, is spend $100 and you can eat there. But did we increase their? They're promoting alcoholism, right there. Because we don't. Because it's tourism, it's the economy. It's the Hotel Association. It's the Saipan Chamber of Commerce. It's all this association. But one thing I know for a fact, and Mr. Chairman, if whatever this body decides about this bill, make sure that the increase, or if it's not going to be increased, make sure the money goes directly to cancer patient for treatment off island. I like to ask the Commonwealth Cancer Association and the high school students to invite me to speak to them. I don't tell them my personal experience, the challenges, the medical challenges, the public policy challenges, you know. And I myself, yes, all of you are aware, I speak, I practice my First Amendment to the fullest extent. And sometimes when you practice that in this democracy, you get punished. And it's okay, you know, because this is democracy. But you got to get up every day and do another day, you know. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you for the Cancer Association and the students coming in to express their support. And it's correct, it's education. But the way this bill is written, it's wrong.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman, and
Schneider.
thank you, Senators, Senator Paul and Senator Magufnia and Senator Babaltan, Senator Kim Neighbor, and I'll see you guys tomorrow again.
Thank you. 9 o'clock tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I don't forget.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Members, I think that so we'll close up for at the request of Senator Paul. We'll close up with Ms. Darrow, but before that, I just want to announce to the general public that we may mark up these bills around Thursday or Friday. Please visit the legislature website, cnmileg.net, to see our calendar of what day it'll be published. But we're looking at around Thursday or Friday to start discussions on these 5 tax bills, in addition to some other bills we're trying to get out of committee. We may or may not adopt any of them, but at least to start the discussion amongst the members. And so before we invite Ms. Taro, I recognize Senator Babalta.
Thank you, Chairman. May I respectfully request that we adjourn today's meeting before we enter the prayer portion? I'm already late for a 6 o'clock appointment, and I would respectfully request to be excused as well.
Thank you. Senator Paul?
I was going to ask for one more minute, just one more minute. I want to ask Lynn Tenorio just one quick question, since she's here and she may not be here on Thursday. Lynn, this is not to promote debate on the bill, but I just want to ask Lynn a question. Lynn, please. 1 minute. Lynn, can you, I'm kind of confused of Commonwealth Cancer Association's role, and do you get money from CHCC? Please make it quick. Just, you get any money from CHCC? And,
No,
and
we
what's
don't get
your,
any money
if
from
you can
CHCC.
describe in 30 seconds, what's your role?
CCA's role? So our mission is, our vision is a cancer-free CNMI, but our mission is to do it through education, awareness. We support the peers, the cancer group, and then any way we can with the money that we do raise, we also split it up to use it for direct client services. Does that answer your question? So we don't get any money from CHCC. We don't get any money from the local government.
And what's your budget for 1 year?
Currently, I am a part-time person. So our budget, it depends on what, so our working budget is about $70,000. And then we have to include, that also includes, we give out maybe about $100,000, because that will include the working with prevention, so printing all our stuff. And
It's
then
not only
also-
prevention for Biruna, right?
No, it's all
for-
cancers. Sorry. Yes, it's all cancers. All
Okay,
cancers. We
okay.
help all cancer patients.
Thank
All.
you. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry
Thank
about
you,
that.
Ms. Nora. All right, at the request of Senator Babalta, can I get a motion for adjournment? All right, Any objections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Okay.
This public hearing is hereby adjourned at 6:13 p.m.